Okay, now it's my favourite time of the show, really. The Fast Five. It's a segment where we put the nation's leading minds to the speed test, and I've got my trusty bell here ready to ding them out. 5 stories I want to get to. I'm going to deal with them in 5 minutes, and joining me tonight with some fast-paced common sense is political commentator Brigid Meney. Brigid, it's been too long. Great to have you back on Bernardi. Are you ready for this speed test? I've got the nasty bell here ready to ding you out if you talk too long.
I'm always ready. I'm always ready. Ding away.
All right, that's what I like to hear. Okay, Prime Minister drew praise all over social media for chugging a drink at a Gang of Youths concert. It's not a courtesy, of course, that was extended to Tony Abbott or Scott Morrison, who are held down for promoting alcohol abuse and everything else in similar situations. Brigid, what did you make of Albo Sculler at a Gang of Youths concert?
I think I'm like the rest of Australia who didn't really give a damn. I mean, the thing about this kind of commentary, whether it's newspapers and the media reporting on the fact that they think he's a hero for chugging a beer or they're cringing at prime ministers for chugging a beer, it seems to always be the left of the media who seems to think that this is worth some deep anthropological debate. I mean, it's just crazy. The rest of Australia doesn't care. But it is worth pointing out that, you know, former prime ministers from the right were called sexist, and I think toxic masculinity was thrown around a bit as if women can't be out there chugging beers themselves. I mean, sometimes we do drink a beer and sometimes we might even do it in public. So this kind of media story is so typical of the left, who just want to praise Anthony Albanese for absolutely everything he does while he's in his honeymoon period right now.
Yeah, they make it very hard to say they're fair and balanced, unlike us here on Sky News, which we are. Okay, Brigid, unions are making their demands known ahead of the job summit. Sally McManus has said that they want the power to strike in support of multi-employer and sector-wide paid claims across industries, including childcare and small business. This is like going back to the 70s when there was just a battle between business and unions and it crippled the country. Do you reckon they're for real?
I mean, you're absolutely right, Cory. And I think this is what the coalition has been waiting for. It's what they've been needing for some time now, is something that's going to take the shine off, beer chugging Albo during this honeymoon period and remind voters of the danger of the chaos that a Labor government can descend into, particularly with their strong relationship with the unions here. I mean, all you have to do is look to New South Wales and the repeated train strikes that are going on there to know that voters do not like this, and it will actually lose the Labor Party support in the long term. I mean, this is why the coalition is generally the party of government. So I think that there's a reason why Anthony Albanese hasn't said too much about this and is playing coy, which I think is sensible, because this isn't just about, unions and strikes. This is about the future viability of a Labor government.
It's going to be a real test. Okay, now, woke French President Emmanuel Macron has warned France, and I quote, "The age of abundance is over, and that sacrifices will need to be made," apparently as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Brigid, it's got nothing to do with green policies and the socialist agenda that he's been pushing and their chickens coming home to roost. It's all about the Ukraine, isn't it?
Well, look, I think there's a lot of things going on in Europe right now, and I would say that there's millions of people in France who have been living in poverty for some time, and the age of abundance was never quite there for them. But I do think the time of abundance is certainly over for Macron. I mean, he has suffered an election that has diminished his power within France. He's lost control of the parliament. He's going to need minor parties to pass any budgetary measures. And he's probably just realising how difficult it can be to govern in this climate. I mean, some of those fringe parties in France make the Australian minor parties look pretty measured and sensible, to be honest.
Yes, we're not doing too badly on the world stage in comparison anyway here. Brigid, the AFL world have been condemning Brisbane Lions captain Dane Zorko for his comments to Melbourne Demons player Harrison Petty. Now, I don't know specifically what was said, but I reckon a bloke crying on a footy field because someone sledges him means he's a bit of a sook. Am I all on my own here? What happened to sticks and stones, Brigid?
I am possibly the worst person you could have asked this question to, because I'm incapable of being remotely impartial when it comes to my love for the Melbourne Demons. Look, I don't know what was said either. The blogosphere is going quite wild on whether it's about his mother or about his sister. I don't need to know. It must have been pretty bad because a man was reduced to tears. Dane Zorko has admitted that it was terrible and it totally crossed a line. Both clubs have come out saying it definitely crossed a line, and the AFL has said it has crossed a line. So look, we're probably going to have to wait for a tell-all end of career AFL novel to shed some light on what was actually said. But if all parties are saying it was bad and crossed a line, that's enough for me.
I'm not going to ask you another Melbourne Demons question ever again. No more Melbourne Demons questions for you.
Go the
AFL are the wokest outfit in the world. He could have said something like, your mother wears army boots, and the AFL would have condemned it. I mean, by goodness, I grew up in maybe a different age. I'm all by myself there, I can tell, Brigid. Speaking of being all alone, Novak Djokovic, he's withdrawn from the US Open over its vaccination requirements. Now, the CDC over there says there's no difference between being vaccinated and not vaccinated. You should be treated the same. Isn't it time for us all to move on from these restrictions?
Oh, goodness. I certainly hope so. I mean, Novak Djokovic, again, we're at this debate where he's apparently a walking, talking Wuhan lab who's going to spread his virus to millions of people from centre court in the US. I mean, it's honestly just absurd. And it actually hurts the US Open. It hurts one of their biggest events more than anything else. They haven't got the number one player in the world coming. They haven't got the number two player in the world coming. So it's going to be a bit of a dud event. So look, definitely the science certainly doesn't stack up for me, but he's a tennis player. He'll live on. I feel for the millions upon millions of people who have watched, their family members die via Zoom or been separated from their premature babies or not being able to get the mental health care that they need because of government responses to COVID. And my hearts go out to them. I mean, he might go down a few rankings and the science isn't there, and I'm with him on principle, but there's people that are hurting.
Yeah, very well said. And you know what? You've beaten the buzzer every single time. Brigid Meney, I've really enjoyed you joining me on Bernardi, and let's not make it such a long time next time. Well done. Have a great weekend.